People used to treat me like I was nothing, as if my first-class ticket was inked in invisible ink. Amara Reynolds, the CEO of Equinox Systems, found herself ensnared in a web of discrimination that could silence the loudest of voices. As she approached the North Star check-in counter for a critical trip to Tokyo, worth $500 million, she became acutely aware of the bias lurking in the hearts of those who held her fate in their hands. Dismissive glances followed her through TSA, where a random search felt more like an interrogation of her very existence. But nothing prepared her for the boarding gate confrontation. There stood Paige, the gate agent, a wall of indifference who scrutinized her ticket like it was forged. Humiliation washed over Amara as she demanded proof of the treatment that painted her as a criminal rather than a valued passenger. Amidst mocking laughter from the North Star employees, the situation spiraled. When security arrived at her insistence, she felt an ember ignite within, a spark of defiance fueled by the injustice she had endured. A call from her COO turned the tide, revealing her company's significant stake in North Star. Suddenly, the world shifted. Amara rose not just as a business leader, but as a beacon of resilience. Her identification cut through the tension like a knife, drawing eyes and ears from bystanders curious about the unfolding drama. The media descended, amplifying her story and exposing North Star's hypocrisy. The backlash was swift. Executives scrambled to address the fallout, leading to leadership changes far beyond just their brand. Amara's actions spurred reform, her experience igniting a broader movement against racial discrimination in the corporate world. What transpired on that fateful day was more than a fight for justice. It was a call to arms for anyone who's ever felt powerless. What would you have done in her shoes? Let's talk about it. Ma'am, I need you to step aside, Paige said, her tone cold, dismissive as Amara stood at the North Star check-in counter, clutching her first-class ticket. Amara's heart raced. But I have a ticket, she replied, bewilderment painting her voice. The bustling airport enveloped them, yet it felt like an echo chamber of scrutiny and judgment. This isn't the place for your complaints. You're not fitting the profile. Paige shot back, eyebrows raised as Amara's face flushed with humiliation. Next came TSA. Amara's beautifully crafted watch, a gift from her late grandmother, was taken for random inspection. She fought back tears as it vanished behind the glass, just another reminder of how she was being treated with suspicion. Finally, at the boarding gate, the rejection, fireworks in slow motion. I'm sorry, you cannot board, Paige stated flatly, arms crossed. There's been a mistake, you're in economy. Amara felt her world collapse. Prove it, you can't just deny me. Through clenched teeth, Amara stood her ground, but the sound of security boots echoed behind her, icy and foreboding. Ma'am, we're just following protocol, a guard replied, as Amara's cheeks burned with rage. Do you really think it's just protocol? Amara spat, her voice trembling. While she waited, the laughter of the North Star staff lingered, malicious and mocking. Look at her. Think she's CEO material? A coworker sneered. It ignited something inside Amara, a storm brewing. After a call from her COO revealed they were on the brink of sealing a $500 million deal, Amara felt a surge of power. She straightened herself, addressing the crowd. I am Amara Reynolds, CEO of Equinox Systems. The change in tone shifted the atmosphere, murmurs of support rippling through onlookers. As the media arrived, the weight of the camera lenses felt transformative, capturing the moment of defiance. North Star will be held accountable, she declared. This isn't just about me. At the rush of adrenaline fueled her, a reckoning for the corporate giant. Amara Reynolds stood at the North Star check-in counter, her first-class ticket clutched tightly, a symbol of her hard-earned achievements. Instead of the welcome she expected, she was met with dismissive glances and snickers from the staff. Each passing moment added to the weight in her chest, the frustration simmering beneath her composed exterior. As the TSA agents pulled her aside for a random search, an awkward tension built in the air, a palpable reminder that she didn't belong in their eyes. The security check escalated when a TSA agent misplaced her watch, a gift from her late father. With disbelief unraveling into humiliation, Amara felt the flush of anger creeping up her neck as she approached the boarding gate to find Agent Paige glaring at her. You're in the wrong line, the agent sneered, dismissing Amara as if she were a mere nuisance, rather than a CEO on the verge of sealing a $500 million deal in Tokyo. When the supervisor suggested she fly economy, it was the last straw. Frustration ignited into resolve. The whispers and laughter of the North Star employees around her only fueled the fire within. Just then, her phone buzzed. The COO's urgent call revealed Equinox Systems' significant stake in North Star. A cascade of realization flooded over her. She was not just a passenger, she was a leader. The shift surged through her, igniting her courage as she stood tall, drawing the eyes of those nearby. With a steady voice, she declared her identity and purpose. The reaction rippled through the crowd, and murmurs of solidarity began to rise. It was time for change, and she was ready to lead the charge. Amara stood before the check-in counter, her first-class ticket unfurled like an unyielding banner. "I'm sorry, ma'am, but you'll need to go to economy." The agent's dismissive tone stung. A wave of humiliation washed over her, making the air feel thick around her. "I paid for first class," she replied, a steadiness creeping into her voice. "I expect to be treated accordingly." TSA experience, lost watch, random searches, she felt the weight of the world watching. As she approached the boarding gate, a tangle of disbelief and rage ignited within her when Paige, the boarding agent, barred her entry. "You're not who you think you are," Paige smirked. The ambiance shifted. Amara could feel eyes on her, heavy with judgment. "Call security if you must," Amara dared, defiance sharp in her words. "But I want you to explain to them why I'm being treated like a criminal." The absurdity of it all ignited a fire in her chest. When her CO's call revealed her company's significant stake in North Star Airlines, clarity flooded in. That's when she whispered firmly, "I am Amara Reynolds, CEO of Equinox Systems." The statement rippled through the crowd. Bystanders began to murmur in support, offering their own stories of discrimination with renewed courage. Media cameras caught the moment, capturing the shift in tone as Amara became not just a victim, but a spokesperson for dignity and respect. "I refuse to accept empty apologies," she said, her confidence resonant. North Star must be held accountable. Each word she spoke was a small victory, a step toward a bigger change. Hers was a voice that demanded to be heard, and she would ensure it echoed with the power of accountability and reform. Amara Reynolds stood by the North Star Airlines gate, frustration boiling beneath her composed exterior. Boarded passengers glanced at her, a black woman in a sleek, tailored suit, but it was the dismissive gaze of the airline staff that cut deeper. A first-class ticket dangled uselessly in her hand as she faced resistance from Paige, the boarding agent, whose smirk hinted at a wealth of unearned power. "You can't board. We're full," Paige declared, her tone edged with condescension. With each word, Amara felt the weight of humiliation press against her chest. Not just for herself, but for every person who'd ever faced such treatment. The laughter from a nearby group of employees twisted the knife deeper, fueling her indignation. Then came the call from her COO, an urgent whisper revealing that Equinox Systems had a significant stake in North Star Airlines. In that moment, a quiet fury ignited within her. Amara composed herself, her heart racing not from fear, but from the knowledge of her own strength, stood tall, silencing the room simply by being present. "I'm Amara Reynolds, CEO of Equinox Systems," she declared, her voice steady and powerful. Heads turned, whispers shifted. Suddenly, the narrative changed. Bystanders began voicing their own discrimination stories, rallying behind her as if her courage had opened floodgates of shared pain and defiance. Then the media arrived, cameras rolling, capturing the effects of the unraveling situation. North Star's executives were called into an emergency meeting, scrambling to contain the backlash as Amara's name trended across social platforms. Samuel Grant, the CEO of North Star, publicly grappled with accountability as pressure mounted for personnel changes. TAR announced its commitment to diversity training and a new policy against discrimination, clear repercussions for their staff. Amara's quiet triumph resonated beyond a personal victory. As she left the airport, determination surged within her. Her voice had not just been heard, it had sparked a pivotal change. The silent applause for her resilience echoed in her heart, a testament to standing firm against injustice. As I sit back and reflect on that chaotic day, I realize how much stronger I've become through adversity. Facing dismissal and discrimination at the hands of those who should have respected my status felt like a gut punch. Yet, in that moment of humiliation, a fire ignited within me, demanding justice not just for myself, but for everyone who has ever faced such prejudice. I stood up and reminded myself of my power, not just as a CEO, but as a person deserving of dignity. Watching the tide turn as others began to share their stories of similar experiences was profoundly moving. Everyone deserves respect, regardless of their race or status, and accountability is essential for real change. To think that a phone call transformed the narrative and exposed the ugly truths of bias in the airline industry speaks volumes. So I invite you to pause for a moment and reflect. Have you ever had someone treat you like that? Let's share our stories and experiences. I want to hear from you in the comments. Together, we can amplify our voices for justice and create a space for healing and understanding.